step 2, the first thing that I did on this deck was to pressure wash these old boards. You can see that they were rotten. That's the underside all right there. That's the top side of one way over there, which is hard to see. But I pressure washed, and before I pressure washed, I used OxyClean. So there's some different markers. This is where a mat was. So that is eventually what we're going to look like. It has not worn away much because it's been covered. There are some dark spots right here, where the stain has given way and age has gotten to the boards. There's a real dark spot right there. So we use the OxyClean to kill that mildew. Let it sit for about 30 minutes and then pressure wash. But pressure washing got it to here. I don't have the most powerful one, so it didn't really strip it. And so second step is to sand. So now these are sanded. And you can tell they're a lot lighter than the boards over here. I'll try to go right here for a comparison. Pan back and forth. You see they look smoother. They look lighter. So the sandpaper is removing a lot of that mildew and some of the loose stain, and it's just left the pure, nice colored stain. Not any stuff that's just barely hanging on by a thread. So what we're going to do is we're going to get our deck sprayer. Again, after this, right here, we're going to fill it with OxyClean. It's just $4 from Kroger. And we're going to spray it again now that we've exposed the deck boards as much as we can expose them. And that will fully lighten. Like, see, even here, this has been pressure washed, sanded, OxyCleaned one time, and there's still a little darkness. But I think that dark part of the board has just now been exposed even more because it's been sanded. So one more OxyClean and it will be good. Third tip, I'm about 2/3 of the way through. 2/3, 1/3, 1/3 of the way through. I got 2/3 left. So I'm on my 4th sanding pad. So I'm going to use about 12 sanding pads. Save money elsewhere. Do not save money trying to sand with a sanding pad that has lost its cutting ability. This whole thing of 50 right here costs $20. Not 50, I think it's 40, 60, what is it? 50 discs, $20. What's that, like 30 cents? I don't know, 30 cents a pad, something like that. So that is not where you want to save your money. Also, pro tip, these pickets, they still have a lot of stain on them, but one simple wipe removed a little bit of that stain off. Your vertical surfaces are going to maintain stain longer, but just one quick wipe. Want the difference between that and that? It is going to remove some of that some of these dead little particles on the very end where they're just super dried out, like this right here. You know, it's gonna, and maybe where's a better, like watch this. If I just go like this, bad example. Here we go, right here. If I rub right here, okay, that didn't work, but I'm not as strong as I thought I was. But the little bit that's gonna come off is gonna be well worth it. It's gonna leave only the toughest wood behind, and it's going to take some new stain much better. So use a blower, blow off your surface regularly, get that dust out of your way, eat a banana and some coffee, not too much sweetener, stay healthy. Pick up your trash immediately. A clean job is a safe job. And also right here, the reason I have all these old boards laid out is because the ones that I can, I'm gonna pick up, put on a new board, and just scribe it. Scribing something is to put a piece of wood that is the correct measurement, the correct angle. Like this old piece of wood right here, that was the exact angle that the previous carpenter figured out would work for the deck in that spot. So to scribe something is to put that old piece or pattern against your new piece, draw that pencil line right up against it, put your pencil against the object itself, and scribe that same exact edge. So I'm not going to have to measure how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over there. 6, 7. I'm not gonna measure for. I'm not even gonna have to measure for half of them. Also, pro tip: hoses come in 25 feet or 50 feet, but usually for the job I only need about 10. So get you a hose, cut it, put a new end on. Hoses are heavy, especially ones that are worth a dang. So just cut it. Get you a custom hose. Get you a shorty hose. Get you a 10-foot hose, 20-foot hose. If you got a 10 and a 20, that leaves you with another 20 if you buy a 50-footer. Or if you buy a 25-footer, you can get a 10 and a 15. And you can just link them together. And if you get the top of the line hose and you get the solid metal and brass fitting to make a new end, it's not gonna leak. So a leaky hose sucks. Right here, I just end up busting these out because there's so many nails. There's 2 nails, there's 3 nails in each side on both sides, so that's 6 nails. So picking out 6 nails twice on each section, top and bottom, to make room to unscrew this deck board right here. How long would that take? 6 times 2 is 12. And how many sections? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 72 nails by hand, removal, blah, blah, blah. All I'm gonna do, even when it's busted right here, when I put it back in, I'm gonna remove these nails now that they're more exposed. I'm going to pre-drill a screw hole in a nice chunky spot right here that's not damaged. Reattach it, cut these nails loose with a Sawzall maybe, or a grinder, and then if I have a chunk missing, like I do, like right here, I got some chunks, I'll just put some wood putty to make it look nice. But see, using this method, even though it's a little dirtier right now, I mean, most of those are going to be good enough. Most of those just look like old nail holes. This one right here, a little messed up, so I'm just going to putty a couple times, then pre-drill and screw, and it's going to look good. All right, last tip. When refinishing a deck, these are the old screws. These are number 2 squares. They appear to be red or have been stained red, and you can buy red. So I use Power Pros or GRX Starbit T25s on every deck I install. But on this deck, I'm going to be going to the store and I'm going to get red square number 2s. It's going to look way better. You're not going to look down at the deck and say, oh man, it's one kind of screw here and another kind of screw here. That stuff is just, it's not really necessary. But, and this is a 17-year-old screw, not in the worst shape ever, square head. So I can just grab that same one and that should be good enough for me. And that is not super necessary to do, but I think it will be worth it in the long run. Here's a shot on the inside of these nails that I busted loose. So maybe a little putty is going to be required here, but not too much. That one worked out fine. That one just a tiny chunk. I might even just leave it. This one a big chunk. Big old chunk came out, but I mean putty is literally, so this chunk is as big as my finger. But I mean putty, take it, scoop it in the thing, swipe it, done. So pulling those nails by hand with a nail puller is definitely not going to be worth it. Oh, I keep saying last thing. Real last thing. These posts have rotted because they left the end grain exposed on the way they designed it. You can tell by this 2x4 down here. This is goofy. Do not ever do this. An end grain is to be covered. I'm pretty sure that's in Carpentry 101 if there was a class. If you could ever get a person who would be a carpenter in a classroom, which you cannot. This would be one of the first things you ever learn. End grains are to the side or down, or they're joined together at a 45-degree angle, or they butt into something like this, or they face down like this one. All right, don't leave your end grains exposed. It's gonna rot whatever you got going on. Seal it, stain it, protect your investment.